Hello everyone, my name is Izhar Ahmed, Assistant Professor, Liaquat University of Medical and Health Sciences. Today we will learn the definition of pharmacology and the difference between the subdivisions of pharmacology. Those are pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics. As the name indicates that the pharma means drug, and logy means knowledge, the information of the drugs. The broadest definition of pharmacology is the study of substance that interact with living system through chemical processes. And those chemical processes can be pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics. And ultimately, the result is the therapeutic effect or toxic effect. So drug has to pass through these processes, first the pharmacokinetic process and then the pharmacodynamic process. In pharmacokinetic process, absorption, distribution, and metabolism and excretion occurs. In pharmacodynamic process, therapeutic effect and toxic effects are mediated through through the various regulatory molecules like receptors and enzymes. Here you can see the arrow indicates that the body is interacting with the drug. The definition of pharmacokinetic then will be what does body to the drug, and what is the pharmacodynamic then? Pharmacodynamic refers to the what does the drug to the body. So pharmacokinetics involves the kinetics. Kinetics means movement of the drug inside of the body. Like first, drug is get absorbed through various routes. If we consider the oral route, then absorption will be there from the GIT, or we can say absorption is how will drug get into body. And after absorption, drug get distributed and at the same time metabolized and at the same time excreted. So absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion are the process of the pharmacokinetics. During distribution, drug has to reach the target sites where what the drug do, that is the pharmacodynamics. Drug will show the therapeutic effects or toxic effects through various mechanisms, through receptor or non-receptor mediated mechanisms. And we also study the magnitude of drug effects, like magnitude of efficacy. Let's describe more pharmacology and the terms the pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamics. Before administration, there is a pharmaceutical phase, like the shape, size, and the nature of the dose. That is a pharmaceutical phase. And when we administer the drug, it get disintegrated into the stomach and dissolved. And after that process, drugs get into the body through GI tract. If we are taking the drug through oral route, drug get distributed after the absorption. Drug distribute into various tissues, and eliminate at the same time. During elimination, metabolism occurs, and metabolism is actually the purpose of metabolism is to make the drug more water soluble, so that drug should excreted through kidney and not reabsorbed. As you know, the water soluble or polar molecules are not reabsorbed, so they are easily excreted, and that is done by the biotransformation of the drug in the pharmacokinetic process. When a drug reaches into the particular concentration, then drugs show some pharmacological effects like clinical responses, toxicity, and effectiveness. And then pharmacological effect, responses, toxicity, and effectiveness collectively terms as the pharmacodynamics. So first is the pharmacokinetic process, that is the absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. And pharmacodynamics, we study the effects, pharmacological effects, and pharmacological effects can be toxic effect or therapeutic effects. Pharmacokinetic phase is not easy as we think. Absorption, distribution, and elimination. Here you can see if the drug is taken through the oral route, drugs get enter into the liver, and from the liver it get into the bile, and from the bile again get into the it enters in the GIT, and from the GIT the drug can go pass through excreted into feces, and after liver drug enter into the systemic circulation or lymph circulation, and from that there in blood circulation, their distribution occurs. The distribution occurs into various tissues from the blood, like kidney, lungs, brain. During distribution, metabolism happens, whether drug metabolize the body metabolize the drugs. So uh, through kidneys, after metabolism through kidneys, drug excreted in the urine. And there are certain volatile substances like anesthetics, gaseous anesthetics like haloethane or ethanol reaches in the lungs and excreted through the lungs. So this is very uh, simple, at the same time complex pharmacokinetic processes. In pharmacodynamics in detail, we can study the receptor binding, signal transduction, and physiological effects. The pharmacodynamic effects may be mediated or by two mechanisms, receptor-based mechanisms and non-receptor drug actions. Most of the drugs act via receptor-mediated actions. These are the 5 types of receptors available on the cell membrane. You can see the receptor 1, it's a lipid soluble, and due to lipid solubility, lipid soluble drug get entry into the cytoplasm and attaches with the intracellular receptors, and thereby due to a gene thereby through the gene transcription, the pharmacological effects are mediated. And second, you can see the receptor is outside of the cell membrane as well as inside of the cell membrane. And this is transmembrane receptor. The signal binds to extracellular domain of the transmembrane protein, thereby activating enzymatic activity in cytoplasm. Third type of receptor is also the transmembrane protein. What they do, they are linked with the enzyme like tyrosine kinase. When drug bind extracellularly, then conformational changes occur in the receptor, and then drugs mediate certain after the conformational changes. Drug bring about the changes intracellularly, and there something enzyme activates and cellular response, and ultimately tissue response occurs. The shape of fourth receptor, you can see there is the channel in this protein. This is cell membrane. This is a protein. Ligand bind from the outside and extracellular domain. Signal then extracellular domain is binded with that, and then channel opens, and like sodium, potassium, calcium, then pharmacological response is mediated through ligand binding with this. Fifth receptor, type of receptor, which is most common, most of the drugs act via this receptor. So that is the G protein coupled receptor. G protein is a GTP binding protein. R represent the receptor, and E is the effector. So when drug bind with the uh, extracellular domain of the G protein, then G protein activates and go to the effector part of this receptor, and then cellular response occurs. So these were the 5 types of receptors: intracellular, transmembrane, and this tyrosine kinase, ion channel, and G protein. So this is very useful for information for the beginners of pharmacology. That was the general principles of the pharmacology. Thank you so much. If you understand this lecture, please subscribe this channel